Welcome.
Alright, we're back at it again with the podcast.
Wow, Dan doing the intro this time.
Wow, look at that. Some initiative.
Yeah, we're doing that intro.
We're back at it.
Most
Episode
dope.
5.
Yeah, welcome to
Mac Miller
episode
is
5. Mac Miller died.
It's a part
Shit,
of
guys.
history.
That's a
It's
depressing
very-
note to
very
open
dark.
up. Hey, welcome to the show.
Mac
This
Miller's
person
dead.
Hey,
died.
this is our time capsule. This is what happened in this point in time.
Yeah.
Isn't that
Mac
crazy
Miller-
It's
though?
already been like a week since he's been dead.
But isn't that insane though? Mac Miller's dead at 26.
That's insane, dude. Yeah, I was talking to Jordan. He's like, Jordan's the same age.
There's a thing where it's like there's a 27 club, which I guess is a thing against.
Oh, Kurt Cobain, right?
Yeah. So like all these other famous musicians, like him, Amy Winehouse, some other people, like they
Uzi
died
Vert.
at 27 because of overdosing or whatever. So
Mac Miller was 26, so.
yeah, there was a statement that was like he said that he didn't want to join, or he was like, I hope I'm not part of the 27 club. And, well,
The kind
he
of
beat it.
you kind of like jinx yourself by saying that you make your own little club.
he did better.
I think just
Cut there.
I don't know.
Okay.
the scope
Maybe
of it
not.
is crazy because I had friends talking about Mac Miller in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was at least like 9 or 10 years ago.
That sucks, dude. Though, like, you had your whole life ahead of you, and like everything was going pretty well. Well, I mean, as far as we know, right?
Well,
Yeah.
actually, I actually don't think his life was going as well as it could be. I mean, we make a lot of assumptions about celebrities having such good lives, but I think it was definitely reported that he had some form of like depression and
He had some
anxiety.
sort of abuse. I know that there was a thing with Ariana Grande that was she talked about it a little bit.
Yeah, and what's kind of fucked up too is like blaming Ariana Grande for this sort of situation. Like,
yeah, she didn't have anything to do with that.
really, she said it really well in her response to anybody who blamed her. She's not responsible for this, for anyone else's actions, and her decision to get away from his situation is a personal thing, and it's totally respectable because it's not her deal to take care of him
Yeah.
and his issues as much as like it's definitely a nice thing for someone to do. If she doesn't want to do that, doesn't have to do that.
Yeah,
right?
why you gotta tag and pin your burdens on behalf of somebody else? Why do you have to pin their burdens on
He
like
smoked a lot
an
of dope.
affiliate
That's just
person?
how
right?
it is. Dope. Smoking
But
dope
anyways,
all day.
you know
Mac
what?
Miller,
I think-
most dope.
This reminds me of just that there was that one artist who had won. She had
Like
won
painting
that.
artist
No,
or
no. She
music
had won like she was a singer and she had won that singing show. What is
America's
it?
Got Talent.
Something like that or
The
the other
X
one?
Factor.
No, not the X
American
Factor.
Idol?
Yeah, American Idol. She
Oh,
won American
That
Idol,
was the first one. What do you mean?
and she was on tour, and someone just ran up and shot
Oh
her.
fuck! It's
what?
something Grimmy.
Yeah. Oh, Samantha Grimmy, right?
No, not Samantha.
Not Samantha Grimmy?
Fuck! I
Sorry.
forgot her
She
first
won-
name.
she won
But she's
the whole
really-
thing?
She was super cool. I think
And then she
won.
got a freaking shot.
Yeah, she was pretty big on YouTube. Like she was super good at singing. She played Smash Dance, so she was legit. She was cool.
Wow.
And then she had a concert like 2 years ago, I think. I think it's been 2 years, year or 2 years. And then some crazy fan, for whatever reason, like just walked up in the middle of a signing or something and like shot her in the head.
Oh, shit. Oh, I
Yeah.
think I do remember
Christina
that.
Grimmie.
Yeah.
Christina Grimmie, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
She
messed
did a
up.
bunch of covers of like a lot of songs. And she was really good. She's pretty cute too, but it's like, fuck, that sucks, dude.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah, I think she had a lot going for her, and she was really young in her career when this sort of thing happened.
Yeah, like she had connections with like Selena Gomez and whoever because she's part of that crowd. And
Especially for young talent like this, it really just sucks on
all right, can
every.
we stop talking about dead people?
There's so much for the time capsule on this.
You know what they can't do anymore
What?
is dream
Oh,
because
okay.
they're dead, which is the topic of our podcast.
Smooth.
You like that segue?
Smooth segue into that one.
Oh,
Oh, they can't dream anymore. You try not to make it dark, but that was dark as
hey
shit.
man, how are you supposed to transition into that?
There's, let's not talk about dark shit. Oh, you know what they can't do? All their hopes and dreams
Or
are
on the
dead.
other hand,
Oh.
they're in an eternal dream now, right?
Oh.
They're sleeping.
if death is a dream,
Yeah. Have you ever have you ever had and you had and you had a dream about him that you wanted to have him do you so bad?
I like the metal version of that song a
Yeah.
lot better.
It's like the like prog rock version. Or something.
Yeah, I'm looking that up.
You know, did you see that Ask Reddit thread about like people who have been dead for a minute or so have been clinically dead? What's it like? And then you read a few of them, and
What, like people who got revived?
yeah, people who have been dead. And I was reading through a few of them, and there's a lot of disparate opinions or perspectives about it. But I saw a few that were like, it's just all black, and I'm like, holy shit.
Well, is it
no.
okay? Here's something that I have thought about before. So you know, like when you're asleep and then you wake up, there's that obvious disconnect from when you're conscious and then you wake up the next day, right?
Yeah, sure.
But for some reason, I don't know if this is how it works for you, but in my head, I like will remember, I will quote unquote remember being asleep, where it's like, I know that I just woke up, but I can think about the time frame between being conscious and unconscious.
Oh, that.
And being like asleep, there's no color. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like if you close your eyes and you see like the black of your eyes, but like being unconscious, there's something there, but it's like,
Is it like the pre-awake period?
maybe
For you?
that's it.
Also, this is another question that's just sort of tangential.
Okay.
Do you dream in color?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, cool.
Although
okay.
I think actually what happens with mine is that there's sort of a vignette
You
effect.
dream in
Where,
black and white?
Some people do.
yeah, some people do. Like
Well, I mean, not in modern day, only in back in the 90s.
What are they like? Got
in
a
the
bunch of like
50s, like-
tube TVs.
Are you
That's
saying
how
that
they
like?
do
Are you
it.
saying that like when? That's like saying in the 19th century everything was black and white.
Yeah.
You know, if penguins are black and white and zebras or newspapers are
And
black
then all
What are you
penguins, all
talking
penguins
about?
are newspapers.
All penguins are
think
newspapers.
about that, man.
Yeah.
Dude, if all old television shows are black and white and zebras are black and white,
Yeah.
then all zebras
are old television
Wow.
shows. Yeah.
Wow, by the transitive property, that makes a lot of sense.
Welcome.
No, but yeah, I dream in color. It's the like I said, mine has like a vignette effect, so it's sort of like tunnel vision for me, where everything that I'm focusing on has color, but then there's like a black outline around the side.
So you know when you're dreaming?
Well then that's when you start to get into like lucid dreaming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
I've heard or I've read that blind people will say that they dream in what they interpret as color. I mean, obviously we can't see it because we're not blind reading, listening to Braille, right? So, I don't know. Like, I think that people have asked, like, deaf people, do they hear? Well, they don't ask them. You don't go up to a deaf person and go, "Hello, sir. Do you dream in sound?"
Do you
And
hear?
then he responds like, "Oh."
No. It's getting cut.
I don't know. It's kind of funny. I'll leave it in.
I've always thought it's
What do you think?
interesting.
Our deaf listeners to this podcast are gonna start
Listeners
railing
will get
this.
really
for us.
mad.
I hope you're setting out like a some sort of braille for them.
Yeah.
Send it in the newsletter,
Yeah.
the paper newsletter.
If they can get to the computer screen on it, little like nipple things start peering out of the screen so they can touch it and read what words we're saying.
The Actually Nothing website, nipples come out of your keyboard.
I don't know, what do they call
You signed up for this.
what do they call the little beady things in Braille that they touched?
I feel like that's one of those really.
nipples?
That's one of those really specific things,
Like an
the,
aglet?
Yeah, like an aglet, or the twisty thing on a toothpaste container. Wait, that's
You mean a cap?
yeah, but you know, there's a word for it. It's not just
Is
the
there?
cap.
I don't know.
The
Really?
yeah, I feel like there's a
Google it.
special word for the twisty thing.
That's
on
one of the things that I always have to remind myself about. If I have a question, I could probably Google it and have it answered within 2 seconds instead of looking around the room and be like, "Do you know this? Do you know this?" It's like, just fucking Google it, dude. We have technology at the
Technology.
tip of our fingertips.
Apparently, I'm just
Wow, that was stupid, redundant.
nice. Apparently, I'm just a fucking loser idiot because I
Called
think
the
it's
cap?
I think it's
Is it
just called the
Dreamy
cap.
Oh my god.
Whatever.
what was that thing we were figuring out before?
What?
Before we got into the aglet and fucking stupid toothpaste thing.
Lucid dreams?
Well, before that, we were talking about the specific name.
Oh, the nipples and
oh
Braille.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, look that up.
Specific name for bumps on a braille
It's probably just gonna say like
thing.
Braille.
that's what braille is.
It's the first. What are the
Bumps.
yellow
Braille
bumps? You know, it says doesn't really say anything about the bumps. You can call them nipples if you want to, Aaron.
That's what I'm gonna call them.
You might be it might be offensive.
If I ever go blind, I'll request you guys to put nipples all over everything I own, so I know what I'm touching. You know,
Freaking nipples! God damn it! Yeah, there's nothing here about what those little things are called, so I'm just gonna call them blind nipples.
blind nipples.
Yeah. Well, there's your offensive statement for the cast right there.
Yeah. How do you guys dream in color or?
I definitely dream in color. I've had instances where I've seen really vivid colors that are important to me in some way, I guess.
Oh, like an interpretive dream somehow?
I suppose so. I've definitely dreamt. Well, the only way that I can verify for myself is that I've had this recurring dream ever since I've been a kid. It's really fucking stupid. Essentially, what'll happen is I go down this big slide and I'm looking at a giant glass cube, and around the cube is blue, and I see green rolling hills inside the green, right? These green rolling hills inside of that glass
It's a rolling
cube.
hill.
Yeah, and there's a park there. There's hills all over the place. And I get there, and I'm excited to get into the park, and then I get stuck in the fucking tube, and everything goes black, and I see like a Darth Vader face coming
my
at
God,
me
that's
really
terrifying.
slow, and like there's fire around it. And then I wake up.
Fire
it's been
around
this
it too?
Yeah, it's been this recurring dream I've had
It's
since I
happened
was a
multiple
child.
times?
I've had this since I was
Yeah,
a
haven't you
child.
ever had a recurring dream before?
No.
Really?
Dude, they're fucked.
I feel like that's a common thing among
really
people. I have
disturbing.
well, you know how there are like people can interpret dreams because like it's a common thing among people, like driving dreams, or like you've heard people talk about like they fall from a high place and then they all wake up right before they hit the ground or something like that before, right?
Yeah.
You've never heard about this before?
Not really.
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
Have you ever had those dreams where you feel like you're falling and you wake up right before then?
Yeah. Or
No.
or let's say, have you ever tried to punch in a dream but it feels really slow?
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
done
Okay,
that.
so that's like a common dream thing, right?
Yeah.
And so people over the years have gathered common things that everyone experiences in their dreams
Okay.
and kind of like makes a log of it and have tried to explain what it is. So people will try to interpret reoccurring dreams as like some sort of omen or something's gonna happen. So like one that my sister gets a lot, I think, that I've gotten a few times before are like storm dreams, so like hurricanes
dude.
and tornadoes.
Yeah.
And supposedly, I'm not saying I believe in this, but it's like it's supposed to indicate that there's a big change in your life on its way or something. I personally get the one. Actually, I have two recurring dreams that I get a lot. One of them is my teeth falling out. I know that's a really common one that I've read anecdotally from other people. For me, what happens is like in the middle of the dream, it'll feel like I have like a loose tooth, you know, like when we were kids and you kind of like fiddle around with it.
Yeah.
I'll feel that, and then I'll notice that it's in my mouth, and I start like pushing it with my tongue, and then eventually I pull it out, and I'm like, all right, cool. But then I notice that the tooth that I just pushed out is there again, but it's still wiggling.
What the shit?
So then I'll try to push it out again, but after I push out that one the second time, all the other teeth around it start getting loose, and then I'm like, this is a weird feeling, and then I start like wiggling all the teeth and then start spitting them out like in chunks and like into my hands, and then I start freaking out because I'm like, oh my god, my teeth are falling out. And it'll either be that or you know, Smarties, like the little pellet
those
things.
candies, yeah.
You know, the feeling of when you like bite them and they crunch and kind of turn into dust.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that, where my mouth is full of that sensation where like I bite down, but all my teeth like crumble into little bits and pieces, and then I'm just like, and then
Wow.
Dude,
my
that's
teeth fall.
you know, that's really cool. I have common dreams like that as well. I have that teeth dream a lot, except for
I hate it.
my teeth dreams always end up being,
Man, these dreams suck,
dude,
man.
they're freaky.
Yeah.
The dream that,
my dreams, I have no dream.
dude, I always
Some-
have
some
really
people
vivid
don't.
ones. The teeth one I have always fuck with me because like I'll always have these dreams about my teeth being in weird positions. It's always about
Like,
like
you have like a gnarled mouth or something.
it's like either a gnarled mouth or I just have too many teeth on one side, or my
Ugh.
teeth are on the ground and I'm looking at them, or like I feel my entire jaw just collapse and all of my teeth come out like that. It's doesn't even hurt. It just feels really
Yeah, yeah.
weird, and I'm kind of like freaked out at the shock of seeing my teeth somewhere else.
Well, that's the weird thing, because like I feel it in my dream, and then when I wake up, I have to check my mouth to make sure that all my teeth are there.
So wait, let me ask a question.
Okay.
How viable is it that these dreams that are so common, like the teeth dream especially, and I've had plenty of storm dreams as well,
Yeah.
to talk about them as if they're maybe evolutionary practices? Like we have similar dreams because of the societal context in which we live,
Okay.
where teeth have a really important communal meaning.
Yeah.
And that's why we all have similar dreams in a way that can be interpreted similarly.
I've heard that the way the teeth dream is interpreted is you have issues with like your self-image, or you're like self-conscious about your
Really?
appearance. I don't know.
I've
Personally, I don't feel like I have issues with that, but maybe it's some like subconscious thing.
I've always heard that teeth dreams always deal with anxiety.
That could be that,
You
too.
know? Wait, let's do so I have always been a guilty watcher of the Dream Moods website.
I
You
don't
ever
even
see
know what
that?
that is.
Dude, Dream Moods is
Like a dream ring
so the Dream Moods website is just it's like a
scam.
yeah, it's like a big glossary though for specific types of dreams and what they may or may not mean.
All right.
So hold on, let's check Dream Moods, the teeth
Can
one.
you find out what driving ones mean? I thought that I've read that they indicate like a loss of control in your life.
I think so. That makes sense.
Makes sense,
I mean,
right?
of course, no dreams can ever be so, I guess, all-encompassing. It doesn't make any
You
sense.
can't actually interpret what they mean because we don't actually really understand what they are anyways. So
Yes.
there was a cool experiment that I saw a while ago. I don't know how legit it was, but they supposedly hooked up some sort of like electronic nodes or whatever to a person's brain. And what it was supposed to do was it would translate whatever brainwaves they were having while they were dreaming into an image in real time so that you could see what it was.
Mm.
And I think what it was the image made a silhouette of an elephant, and then the person was like, yeah, I dreamt of like an elephant or something. Like it wasn't like a very clear silhouette, but like it vaguely looked like an elephant. And I don't even know if that was a legit study or not, but that's something I remember.
So
Tell me
on
more about this moon dream.
on Dream Moods, so they talk about the commonality of teeth dreaming.
Mm-hmm.
And so a few of them is that, you know, dreams about your teeth reflect anxiety about your appearances and how others perceive you. There's one about teeth and communication. When your teeth are missing, you may also have a harder time talking or enunciating your words. Falling teeth relates to embarrassment. Dreaming that your teeth are falling out or rotting may refer to your fears of being embarrassed or making a fool of yourself. You know, powerlessness. Teeth are used to bite, tear, chew, and gnaw. In this regard, teeth symbolize power, and the loss of teeth in your dream may be from a sense of powerlessness. Health. In the traditional dream interpretation books, dreams of missing or losing teeth pointed to malnutrition or poor diet. There's falling teeth and death, falling teeth and money, falling teeth and deception, stuff like that. And so I guess the best part about the Dream Moods way of looking at this common dream is that it takes into account the situation of your teeth, like where your teeth are on your body, what type of role they play in your everyday life. You know, because you use your teeth for everything. You use your teeth for so many different things. And, you know, your teeth, well, yeah. And I mean,
I know what you mean, but I just had to, when you said everything, I imagined a guy biting a steering wheel while he's driving and turning his head side
hey,
to
dude,
side.
people can use it with whatever they want.
Yeah.
And your loss of teeth reflects your inability to drive your car at that point.
Yeah,
So that's a real disability
you
then.
get dentures.
But so, like, you know, teeth are important for your appearance too, because you ever heard that thing, that saying where it's like, if you pay money for anything, pay money for your face? Like, my mom has
Like
always,
a smile. Or
my mom has always said it, like, don't ever skimp on paying for things about your face. So your teeth, your hair, making sure everything about your face looks good, because those personal appearances are parts of first impressions when you meet people. And I've come to agree with it. But so, like, your teeth are a really important part about that, because you almost can't not see them, right?
Yeah.
So I would say that, like, trying to take teeth from a contextual point of view and then using Dream Moods, you can't take any of what they say literally.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to think of dreams as being so pertinent to your everyday life and your everyday waking life that,
Well, that's kind of true, because a lot of the times, whatever my last thought I had before I fell asleep ends up being involved in whatever I dreamt of that night, right?
I end up I always think about having dreams. My dreams always tend to pertain to what's happening in my life at the moment.
Okay.
You know, especially if I'm stressed out, I have really specific types of dreams. If I'm bothered by a specific situation, I have types of dreams as well. Or if I feel that I'm not doing something correctly, I have certain types of dreams. You know, like I'll dream of the undead kind of frequently when I feel like I'm not doing anything.
Like zombies?
Yeah. Like if I'm not being as productive as I can be and I feel like I'm stagnating in my life and I don't want to talk about it or I don't want to come face to face to it, I tend to dream about zombies or about the undead.
Ooh, that's kind of scary.
I think it's supposed to be, well, for me, what I've interpreted that to mean is that I'm rotting away like these things that are appearing before me. And I don't want to be like that. And that by not working hard and by not producing more things for my future, I'm becoming, you know, less and less useful and more dead.
Ooh.
It's a weird way of looking at it. The other dreams about stress I have frequently about school. I dream a lot about really big waves if I'm really stressed out. My most common dream occurrence with stress is big, giant typhoon waves. What'll happen is I'll be dreaming and I'll see just a really big wall of it. It's inescapable and I have no way of getting out.
Like
of
an
it.
interstellar type wave?
Yeah. Just really huge, like 50 feet waves that are just impossible to get away from.
Does it crash down on you and you like wake up?
I
right as that happens?
always wake up before anything crashes, but I see it coming towards me and I can't do anything about it.
Okay. Do you ever have those dying dreams? Like a lot of people say they wake up before they die, but me personally, I have like felt getting skewered or like hitting the ground once or like a few times.
Have you woken up on the ground?
No, but I'll wake up kind of panicked and like my heart rate's a little bit higher and I'm just like, oh my God, what happened? Usually the way that happens for me is like I'll fall onto a piece of like rebar and then I feel like the rebar like going through my stomach and then I'll wake up and I'll just be like, oh my God, I got stabbed. And then I look down and I'm like, oh, never mind.
I have dreamed.
Right.
I haven't had a dream about dying in a while now.
Oh.
You know, the last one I had was I was shot, and that was a while ago, maybe a couple months, 3 months or so. But I haven't had a dream about, you know, physically dying like that in quite a while.
Damn.
How about you, Dan?
What was the last dream you had that you remember?
Yeah. You sort of opted yourself out of this conversation.
We'll try to
you
be,
said
an analyst.
you don't have any
for you.
like dreams.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like never. You have never once had like a nightmare or.
Yeah, I like have really dumb segments of dreams that I guess I remember here and there.
Okay.
I guess I forget them, but by the time I wake up, a lot of times get into gang fights or something.
Nice.
Get into gang fights?
Yeah, like I got into a fight and I try to throw a punch, but it's slow,
really slow
right?
and weak, right?
Yeah, I definitely have like vague memories of punching and not being able to punch well.
Do you know who you're fighting?
Just some thug who's trying to rob me or something.
Can you like describe the thug?
No,
Nah?
he's a thug. I guess he's got a knife.
What's your surroundings?
Like a city.
You're in a city.
Yeah,
Oh.
Interesting. Like,
that's
maybe-
literally
maybe-
all I got. That's all I
Okay,
got.
Maybe your inner voice is telling you to like become a gangbanger or something.
or maybe you feel
I'm trying to defend myself, bro.
I think maybe you're this points to feeling like threatened. Like, why would you have to defend yourself if you didn't feel threatened by something? You know? And like the setting kind of makes a lot of sense. Maybe you don't feel safe when you go to school or when you went
Or
to
maybe
school
you just
in the
want to
city.
fight somebody.
Yeah,
That's
maybe
it.
that too. Maybe you
could
just
be
want
something.
you want to fight someone real bad.
Yeah.
I read on Reddit the other day that somebody said they fixed being unable to throw like normal punches in a dream
No
by
way.
like loading their arms. So like before, I don't remember what movie it was. Maybe it was like Mission Impossible or something. But there's a gif of a guy who like when he walks up to a fight, he just goes like takes his arms and goes like he's ready to fight somebody as if he had like shotgun arms or something.
Okay.
But they said that they tried to do that in their dream when they were lucid for their dream. They like readied up to fight, and then they said that they could fight. So next time I
That's dope.
have a fighting dream, I'm gonna try to do that.
No way.
Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely gotta try that.
Oh, I wish I had some control. over
Locked
them.
and loaded.
Yeah. Do you have any other reoccurring dreams?
I have one about storms. When you said that storms tend to mean big change, I had a dream, not recently, but the first time you ever told me about that, I had a dream about seeing the stars. It was all of us. We were all hanging out on the top of this building.
Nice.
And then I
love
saw,
being in other people's dreams.
dude, and I saw these stars,
Dude,
and I was,
cameo.
what's up? These are stars. They're pretty cool. And then they all started swirling around, and they became a twister.
Oh my god, that's
And
terrifying.
yeah, I looked up, I'm like, oh shit, it's a twister. I'm about to die. And I ran inside, and I woke up right after that. And I was really freaked out and perturbed by it for a while. And, I think it was interesting because it was at that very junction of my life when I'd started dating my ex-girlfriend from high school.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that was like the big change that happened.
Oh.
And so,
Yeah, she
I don't know.
sucked,
Maybe.
dude.
Yeah, for real, man. But so I think that that big change may have been correspondent to that,
Wow.
but I don't know. I mean, maybe I was feeling something. Maybe it's just a dream.
On the Moon Dream website, can you look up driving dreams and see what?
yeah.
Because
So,
the one that I have that happens every so often is, I don't know, I think I've told you about this before. I'll be driving by myself in a car.
The sleep paralysis?
No, I'll get to that eventually though when we talk about lucid dreaming a little bit more. But this recurring dream is I'm just driving like on a side road or a highway or whatever in a car, right? And the thing is, at some point when I realize that I'm in the dream as the one driving, the accelerometer like gets stuck, or, like the foot pedal gets stuck, so I just keep accelerating, right? And after like you're going like 100 miles, I'm just like, oh shit, I can't actually brake. So what I'll have to do is I'll have to dodge cars and incoming traffic.
Dude, you gotta put on the e-brake. That's the thing you gotta do. That's why
I haven't tried that in the dream, so maybe. But
you got to load the e-brake like you load your arms when you punch.
maybe that's what I have to do. But
E-brake.
what I end up doing in that dream is I'll find like roads that go in a square, so I'll just have to keep making right turns until I eventually inevitably crash. But the thing that pisses me off about those dreams is I'll be driving, and then at some point I realize that I'm sitting in the seat behind the driver's seat, and I'm reaching my arms over as around the seat, like trying to hold onto the steering wheel. And then when I notice that I'm doing that, I'm like, why the hell am I trying to drive the car from back here? And then I'll climb up to the front and go back into the driver's seat. And then after I'm like, all right, I'm back in the driver's seat, I notice again, and then I'm back in the same position where I'm reaching over from the back seat. And I'm like, it's so hard to drive like this. And then I eventually crashed.
Oh, wow.
So I looked it up, and I think what most relates to that story, it talks about, let's see. To dream that someone else is driving you represents your dependence on the driver. You are not in control of your life and following the goals of others instead of your own. If you are driving from the passenger side of a car, then it suggests that you are trying to gain control of your life, control of the path that your life is taking. You are beginning to make your own decisions. If someone else is driving you from the passenger side, then it means you are being misled into thinking that you are in power or that you are in full control.
But there's nothing about me driving myself and eventually crashing.
About crashing, I didn't see anything about crashing. But I mean, you can only say that it points to anxiety.
That's like the inevitable end.
I think before we talk any more about it, I'd like to put a disclaimer about this. Dream moods sort of is like your horoscope, where it's the most generalized things that may or may not work for most people's lives. So like,
take that with a grain of salt.
It's kind of interesting to think about this whole website as an anthology of sorts of dreams that can be useful or relatable, but you have to think about them in your own personalized way. And inevitably, what I believe is that dreams are just reflective of what you do during the day and how you experience things during the day. There was a theory that I learned about where dreams are like your brain's way of trying to compartmentalize the things that happen to you during the day and make sense of them. And so that's why your brain activity is so high when you're sleeping. It's trying to like compartmentalize it and put it in its spot, because maybe you haven't had the energy or the time to like deal with the situations of the day that may or may not have been traumatic or whatever.
That makes sense because that's where the phrase sleep on it comes from, like
true.
Some people will say if you have like a big decision coming up or that you need an answer, you might not necessarily want to answer right away because your mind or the place where you're thinking at might not be 100% clear. So they say like take a night to sleep on the decision, and when you wake up and you have a fresher mind, then maybe the decision you'll make is a little bit different than if you made it in the heat of the moment or something like that.
Yeah.
Plus, I think that the whole interpreting dreams thing in general is just us as humans trying to interpret or rationalize things we don't understand, because as you all know, like things that you don't understand are generally scary. So when you can rationalize something, then it makes it a little bit easier to cope with. So that I believe that that's part of the reason why people have tried to interpret dreams, because like I already said earlier, like we literally don't know what dreams are still. So
Aaron, if you were to take my theory about dreams are about making sense of the events that happen to you during a daily basis, what's a dream that you've had where it's correlated directly to something that you've experienced in like the last 24 hours or the last week? Maybe not imminently like the last 24 hours, but a dream that you had that was near to events in your life.
Well, now that you mentioned the teeth one was about like appearance and stuff, I think the last time I had that was when I first started like seriously working out, and that kind of makes sense if it's correlating with my desire to work out and better my like body image, right? And so maybe that's where that teeth dream originated from. But otherwise, other than that, most of the dreams that I have, Dan already said that he like remembers them for a little bit after he wakes up and then like forgets them immediately later in the day, which I do too. But people have said that if you want, you can write down the dreams as you remember them right when you wake up, so that when you read whatever you wrote down after waking up, you can kind of remember it better. And that's happened to me. There are a couple of dreams that I wrote down on my phone from a while back where at the time I remember them clear as day, but if I tried to read them now, like the picture, I can still kind of remember it, but it's probably not as clear as what I had when I first woke up, which is kind of cool. And that's like goes part of the lucid dreaming training.
Yeah, what I've heard is that if you keep a dream journal where you write down your dreams as soon as you wake up, because you're able to recall them much quicker, you're also able to sort of discern when you're in the dream and when you're not in a dream. And that's the ability to lucid dream.
Are we talking about lucid dreaming now?
I guess we might as well. Dude, we might as well jump right into it. Lucid dreaming, for those of you who don't know, it's the ability to control your actions when you're in a dream, to be able to discern that you're inside a dream and that you have complete control of what's happening. It's definitely a skill that you can train if you want to do it. One of the methods that I know most about and that I hear is most common is that when you wake up from having a dream, you immediately write the dream down in the most expressive detail you can imagine or that you can muster. And then what you do is you go back and you review those dreams. And you start to think of ways, you start to look at what happens in those dreams so that when you get back into the dream, you can sort of recognize them again. And there's a few other tricks that I've heard about in terms of trying to gain that sort of consciousness in your dream. Yeah. One of them is looking at clocks, looking at anything that tells times. Yeah. Thumbs, really? Yeah. I've never heard. What's the logic behind thumbs?
I think that one it's supposed to be either looking at your thumbs or like the palms of your hand, where you're supposed to do this in the dream. So when you look at your hands or the thumbs while you're dreaming, I think what they said is you're supposed to try to bend your thumbs in a certain way, and then once you can do that in the dream, then your brain goes like, "Oh, I'm in a dream now." Like it's supposed to be the trigger, and then at that point you can like do whatever you want.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I've never achieved that. Every time I've lucid dreamed, it's always been like by accident. Yeah. Huh. But it's awesome when it happens. So.
Yeah. There's a few other things.
Depends on the context in the dream. Usually I end up like trying to fly or something, or I'll actually be conscious of the conversation that I'm having. So like I'll talk like this, whereas before I gained the lucidity in the dream, I would just be like autopilot, like I was watching a TV show or something. Yeah. Have you ever tried to actively lucid dream, or has always been accidents too?
There has been instances where I've been able to lucid dream, and it's because of certain things that I've done in the dream. Not that I thought about it before going to bed, but that I was in the dream and I noticed something peculiar and I was able to discern. One of those things was I was able to count the amount of books that I saw in like a stack. I was dreaming about seeing like a stack of books, and I remember thinking about, why can't I count this? And so I counted all of them. And then once I was finished, like figuring out how many there were, I was able to do whatever I wanted. Dang. And after that, I don't necessarily remember what happened, but the counting part stuck with me because I guess it was one of the more direct things that I had done or as a way of getting into the lucid dream. Oh. Yeah. And so counting is one thing. I've also heard that pinching yourself while you're in the dream is like a really cool way of doing it. Maybe not cool, but an effective
Like
way
a
of
way
getting
to-
into it, because by pinching yourself, you're making a direct action towards like understanding and discerning yourself against the dream. And so
Pretty cool.
that's like another way of doing it. My big thing with lucid dreaming and why I caution myself against it is that I know that when you lucid dream, you sort of put yourself at more risk for sleep paralysis because you're messing with the mechanism that keeps you asleep and, puts you or wakes you up, because part of it is when you regain consciousness, you're coming from a deep part of sleep that goes slowly upwards through REM sleep and then you're awake. But so when you become conscious during a dream, you're sort of messing with that, or you're messing with that process.
Yeah, it's a common occurrence among people who try to actively train lucid dreaming. They'll say that they end up giving themselves sleep paralysis, and that's scary. I've told you about that before, right?
Yeah, and we've had countless conversations about sleep paralysis, but never it never really gets easier to talk about just because it's pretty freaky.
It's only
most of the
happened to me
time.
once, but like I can still remember very clearly how that happened. Like, oh my god, I don't know.
Regale the story.
Okay, I'll go back into it. So, like we said, for anyone who doesn't
Shadow
know,
people.
sleep,
Yeah.
yeah, it's real, dude. Sleep paralysis is basically when your mind is awake but your body isn't. So, when the case of what happened to me was, it was during when I had a vacation in Alaska. Their nights there are really weird because the sun doesn't completely set, and I was kind of jet lagged. So all these other outside factors kind of mashed together into me not getting sleep very well. But what happened was at one point in the night, I woke up, quote unquote, where I could only open my eyes and look around, and that was about all I could do. But I could only look directly downwards, like at my feet, because I was sleeping on this couch, kind of propped up against one of the arms of the couch. So what happened was I looked around, and then in my head, I was like, all right, I'm going to get up and change positions so that I'll be more comfortable to go to sleep, right? But all that happened was nothing because my body was asleep, and I was like, all right, this is kind of weird. But what happened was I started to hallucinate, which is a common thing that happens to people who are experiencing sleep paralysis. And the hallucinations are really scary because what happens a lot of the time is that you start seeing what they call shadow people or shadowy figures. And for me specifically, what happened for me was that it felt like a huge shadowy person was to my left because I was sleeping up against the wall on the right. But this shadow person had a familiar presence, which is really weird. So it felt like it was somebody that I knew or was familiar with, but it clearly wasn't. And all I could tell was that there was some sort of presence, some dark, shadowy presence to my left, but I couldn't look directly at it because my eyes were sort of locked straight ahead. So I started freaking out a little bit because it felt like somebody else was in the room with me, and at the moment, I can't tell what's real and what's not. And then what started happening was the shadowy figure, as it moved closer to me, it sounded like it was whispering, but really loud and really fast. So it sounded like somebody just going like, it wasn't even, I couldn't even understand what they were saying at first. It was just like, but then as they walked closer, it got really louder. So it was like, but as it got closer, I started to make out the words that it was saying, right? And what the words that it was saying to me was verbatim. It was, "To you be killed," which grammatically doesn't make any sense, but it's still freaky because it's like it's targeting me and it says "you" and "killed" somewhere in the sentence, and it's, oh my god, it was really scary. So all it sounded like was it was whispering "To you be killed" really fast and really, really loud, like as if you stuck your head outside of a car window while it was going, and it was just going like, "Do you be killed, do you be killed, do you be killed," but I could very clearly understand what it was saying, and oh my god. And I started panicking a little bit, but luckily, because I already knew what sleep paralysis was, I started to realize, all right, well, I'm in sleep paralysis, I need to break myself out of it. And what I did was I focused really hard on my right arm that was rested to my side, and I stared at my hand and tried to make a fist as hard as I could. And for the first for many seconds I was trying to do it, couldn't make the fist, but I was very slowly able to curl my fingers in. And then once I had a complete fist and I was able to move my fingers, I broke out of it. But Dude, sleep paralysis is no joke. Like, I don't actually know how long this whole ordeal happened over either. Like, at the time it felt like it was minutes, but it could have very well just been like seconds or like a fraction of a second.
What I'm aware of with sleep paralysis is that it generally happens around the same time that REM sleep is happening. And that's what sort of, that's what causes the paralysis. And inevitably what happens is that you're sleeping. What happens is your mind wakes up while you're sleeping. And because of the paralysis that your body induces when you're asleep to keep you from hurting yourself while sleeping, you can't move any muscle, but your conscious brain is like, worried about it. And so it starts this system that, you start moving and you start trying to fight your way through it. Like I think it's called a hypervigilance system. And then what it also is about is REM sleep patterns are really important in terms of discussing sleep paralysis, because when you're in a REM sleep pattern, your breathing is a lot more shallow and you have a lot of other bodily functions that aren't conducive towards conscious waking life. And so your body starts to freak out a little bit. The hallucinations part is actually one of the cooler things to talk about, is because the hallucinations have been documented for a long time.
Yeah.
It's actually, the hallucinations are the original inspiration for the word nightmare. What a lot of people believed in back in the day was that when you couldn't move and you were having sleep paralysis, you had like an incubus sitting on your chest.
Oh,
and that's something that I've experienced too with sleep paralysis, is that I've got a weight on my chest.
Okay.
And that I can't move, and that
Draws on your back, right?
Yeah. You're on your back. There's a big weight on my chest and I can't get up. And so what a lot of people thought about was like this, it's an incubus or a demon that is keeping you from getting up in your sleep. And it's about hallucinations and people seeing things too. But the original word for those things in like Proto-Germanic Nordic is like mera. And so when you get nightmare, the word nightmares comes from the combination of night and that word for hallucinations.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Etymology or whatever.
It's a cool, like,
That's pretty cool.
Edmonology, is it the study of Edmund?
Nice.
Yeah.
Got him.
Dude, I thought that the hallucinations aspect of sleep paralysis were like being way overblown by the people that were documenting them, until it happened to me, and I was like, all right, this is 100% a real thing and it's really scary. So I
know that one of Peter's most convincing ones for me was he had a bout of sleep apnea when we were both living here, and he had this music go through his head when he saw the hallucinations, the shadow like things come closer to him. And it's this piece called Threnody for the Victims of Hiroshima.
Oh,
and
God.
I don't know if
like that title alone just
it's really fucked, because like I don't know if you'd be able to insert any sound bits from here.
I can try.
Oh, how about let's do it here.
We'll put it here.
As you'll hear, it's just a bunch of it sounds like
scary.
Screaming, and it's like the typical horror movie, high strings and really creepy, like anxiety reading. Yeah, it's really fucky stuff. No, I don't know. I've had plenty of bouts of sleep paralysis, but I haven't exactly seen the hallucinations in a long time.
Really?
Yeah.
It's honestly like, if you want like a somewhat accurate feeling or picture of what it looks like, just Google shadow people, and that sort of image that comes up in the Google search kind of encapsulates what it feels like.
The worst part about it is waking up from a sleep paralysis dream. It's not bright out. It's still really dark.
That's
and you can't see anything.
Mine was like in the middle of the night.
I hate that. That's the worst part about it. I guess like it's only kind of fortunate that you were in Alaska, because it never gets really dark there.
Yeah.
The sun never goes down while you're out there.
That's kind of what like fucked around with my head in the first place. So
there have been some instances where like I'll get up from a sleep paralysis dream, and like I'm just stumbling through the dark because I can't see anything.
Oh.
Like heart is still racing.
Yeah.
Have you ever had sleep paralysis, Dan?
I think so.
Yeah.
Now that you think about it, right?
Yeah, now that I think about it, I was just like chilling on my back, sleeping, and then I couldn't move.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, guess I'm just gonna chill here.
You're like, this is my life now.
Yeah, I guess I forget how I got out of it, but I guess
it's a pretty stoic way of going about it.
Yeah, I went
Do you
back
have
to sleep.
Do you have any dreams that you remember from childhood that have stuck to you to this day? I mean, I feel like it's pointless asking you this, because you already said that you didn't really remember.
I actually do remember, because
Okay.
JP, remember when you went back, you're saying that dreams are like a collection of what you've had throughout that day?
Yeah.
like I've actually had dreams that are deja vu that I've had in the future. I don't know if that's a thing.
Okay.
So I feel like I've been in a setting at my work. This was even before I've even had the job, but I've been just chilling at my desk working. And then I remember being in that desk and then my coworkers having a conversation or whatever.
Ooh.
And then I lived that situation at a later time. But it was a very much later time, like probably like maybe years or months or whatever.
That's interesting.
But I feel like I've had some deja vus from dreams that I've had that actually occurred in the future.
Have you had any other childhood dreams that you remember pretty well?
Let's see.
I have one. That's like the dumbest dream ever. do you want me to tell you?
Yeah, I want to hear this.
So you can think about yours. It's like, I laugh every time I think about it now because in retrospect, it's just like the stupidest thing I've ever thought of in my entire life. And I think it's because it was scary when I was a kid when I had it. So I think this was probably my first instance of a nightmare, or like at least of what I could have remembered at the time. So what it is I'm in a Jewel Osco, right? But all the aisles...
That in itself,
yeah, yeah, Jewel Osco was a scary place back then.
Now that JoJo's there, I mean...
Yeah, but the Jewels is empty, so there are no, like... All the shelves are there, but there's nothing on the shelves. And I'm kind of just, like, walking in between the aisles, just, like, minding my own business or whatever, right? And then, out of nowhere, the Jewels has like a glass roof, just a normal sun roof, right? And what happens is the green and red Power Rangers break through the top of the roof.
I remember you telling this to me.
They like rappel down like a rope. Like it's like the most stereotypical like movie trope. You know, like if like thieves are breaking into like a museum, they like shatter the window, drop a rope down, and they come down come down the rope. That's exactly what happens, but with the red and green Power Rangers. And then in the dream, I look up and I see them and I go, "Oh my god!" And I try to run and try to hide somewhere, but I don't know where to hide because all the shelves are empty, right? And there's like nothing in the store. So what I do is I keep running through between the shelves, like trying to avoid getting seen by these two. And then I find like a lone like pack of like toilet paper that's like kind of tall, right?
Yeah.
And then I crawl behind it and just hide there.
Nice.
And then I wake up at some point, and that's a dream. But it's so stupid.
That's great.
And I guess that was my first nightmare.
It was a green and pink.
Yeah, no, the green and red Power Rangers. That doesn't even make sense. They're the good guys.
Yeah, I was gonna say, why are you running from the
I don't
good
know,
guys?
but
were you a villain, Aaron?
Maybe.
Is that what your big fear was? Becoming a villain?
I was like 5 years old when I had this dream or something.
I was gonna say if that was the green and pink Power Ranger, you were Cosmo and Wanda-ing before r/Cosmo and Wanda was a thing.
Dude, I don't know. Like, why the fuck would the Power Rangers be after me? And they're the two like strongest Rangers from the original Power Rangers too. Green Ranger's the best.
What was that?
Green Ranger's the best.
Why?
Because he's badass.
Strongest.
Okay, I always thought the Red Ranger was the best.
No, he's the leader, but
completely because he's the leader. If the Green Ranger was the best, he'd be the leader, wouldn't he?
The Green Ranger is like
give me shit about this.
He's like the cool guy that's like, I don't need to be part of the team, and I'm the lone wolf. And he was badass.
So being a lone wolf makes him the best?
Yeah, because it
makes
cool.
him a fucking loser. That's
green,
what it makes.
And then he turned into the White Ranger.
With the Megazord.
Okay, Megazord.
What are you, a socialist, Dan? Team effort? Oh, this is our group.
Yeah, that's what the Power Ranger.
Hey man, my very first crush I ever had was the original
socialist.
No, yeah, the original Pink Ranger, who was a well-known socialist, was my first crush. Kimberly, yeah.
Kimberly?
Was a socialist?
I don't even remember her name.
That was her name in the show.
The socialist?
Yeah.
What made her?
There you go.
Is that her actual
Red Ranger,
character?
Tom, Blue Ranger, Jimmy, Pink Ranger, Socialist. Oh
god. Yeah, didn't we say we wanted to make a?
Yeah, maybe I'll make the intro and outro. The Russian national.
Definitely the outro at this point. Hail Mother Russia.
Yeah. Vlad, please listen to our podcast. Sponsor us.
Is this like was that just a dream you had one time or multiple
it was
times?
No, it was a dream that I had one time and it stuck with me ever since.
The dream that's always stuck with me is one time I flew over the Atlantic Ocean in a toaster.
No.
That one was really sweet.
Dude, if you fell
I had a good time.
If you fell in the Atlantic, then you'd be dead.
No, I mean, it was one of those things
The
where like,
toaster in the water, man.
so here's the stupid part about it. Toast in the water.
Bad combo.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I guess it'd be pretty bad.
But you made it over?
I made it over.
You didn't
I'm
Amelia
good, dude.
Earhart that?
Too soon, Dan.
Wait. So the shitty thing about this was that I was flying over. I was flying over a map of the United States of like the world. So I couldn't see waves. I just saw like, oh, there's the big green drawing of like North America.
Nice.
Here's me flying over the big blue thing. That's the Atlantic Ocean. And so,
and you're like, I did it.
I was like, yeah, I've completed what I needed to do. And yeah, it was one of those cathartic moments for me. So wait, I want to talk about Amelia Earhart because like,
she's dead.
You know that?
She's like super dead.
Did you know that like now, like they just recovered these things about her where like she may or may not have been alive at least 48 hours after they had decided she had, been deceased.
Okay.
And they got these radio transmissions, and then they're like, nah, she's dead. We don't want to deal with this.
Oh my God.
It. So she could have been alive and trying to contact everyone, and they're just like, nah.
See you later.
Nah, no way.
That's like
you're dead. That's
like the thing where people that were buried in coffins had like bells,
Oh, that's fucky, man.
What's the phrase that like created? It's like for whom the bell
ring
tolls
your
or something.
bell.
Oh yeah, for whom the bell.
I think it's
I've heard that before.
I think for whom the bell tolls is more of a funeral mass thing, isn't it?
No, I don't know.
I don't know.
But the thing that I'm talking about is like people who are buried in coffins.
Yeah, I know about that.
They have like a string with a bell. So if they're apparently what would happen is sometimes people would appear like they're dead, but they're just like unconscious or whatever, and then people bury them in their coffins. But if they wake up at some point later, this bell was supposed to be able to help them. Like the gravekeeper, if like it was ringing, they'd be like, "Oh shit, the person's still alive." And they'd have to dig them out.
Low key,
or if they ignore them, then they get Amelia Earharted and then just die.
Low key, what's more terrifying than like waking up and you've been prematurely buried?
That's fucking scary.
So wait. No. You know what that's most like? Think about this. That's most like having sleep paralysis. You wake up, you're stuck in a fucking hole and it's really dark and you can't move.
Then you get really claustrophobic and see, at least when I had it, it was like in a nice open room and it was fine. But like if I suddenly woke up like very little breathing room and then I'm like, I'm going to suffocate on my own air and I can't freely move my arms. Ugh, it's not a fun. No, but I was gonna say Justice League, like the animated Justice League, TV show.
Great show, by the way.
It was the old school one. There was a scene where like Hawk Girl woke up inside a coffin and she like started panicking. I was like, oh, I don't like that. The
claustrophobia enough would be terrible.
Which, by the way, I thought Hawk Girl before was Hot Girl, and I didn't put the two and two together. The fact that she had like a bird shaped like mask with wings, I was like, oh, Hot Girl, she's hot. That makes sense. And so for a long time I thought she was Hot Girl. I was like, oh,
so
hey, whatever.
Completely ignoring the fact that she had wings, and the fact that she had like she was a mask on.
She was a hot girl with wings.
She was a cartoon.
She was badass. Yeah. What? You never had a crush on a cartoon before?
I don't know if I want to get into this right now.
We'll save that for another podcast.
Yeah. Did you know that like the way to get out of a sleep paralysis dream? There's a few ways. Like because in my anxiety about having sleep paralysis, I looked up a bunch of ways. I've got two that work for me. The one that's worked most of the time is if you're stuck, you gotta move your shoulders. If you can
just like rock back,
you gotta rock back and forth, and that works for me because like generally what'll happen is like, oh, I'm fucking stuck. This sucks. And so I'll just rock back and forth as much as I can because I can't move my arms, right? Yeah. And so I'll rock back and forth, and inevitably I'll turn over on one side. I'll be like, oh, I made it.
And then you wake up?
Yeah. The other thing is if you move your legs. Like moving your legs like you're trying to run. Oh. But for me, that's like a little bit scarier because then you're sort of aware that, oh, I just can't move my legs either.
Well, that's what happened to me because I just stared at my legs. I was like, I can't move these. And that...
How fucked would that be? You wake up one morning and you go, I can't move these.
My legs are just like you became like a paraplegic.
Just overnight.
Overnight doing nothing. That's kind of a scary thought.
Sleep is the weirdest thing. Like I guess in a way, sleep is this really close relationship you have with death. Like, oh, I'm just going to get really close to death and not die. for 8 hours, and then I'll come back and I'll be better than I was before I got close to death.
I mean, like, at least we're not early humans who had to sleep outside with other predators walking around, right?
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah.
Although I guess they would have people who would watch guard at that time, but
You never know. They might not have.
yeah, imagine you just had to sleep outside in the middle of a forest because we didn't have houses. That would suck. But then
They
I
built
also
themselves some sort of shelter.
yeah. Well, I mean, I figured at the dawn of like intelligent humans, they weren't just like, "Fuck, we gotta sleep outside. Let's do nothing to protect ourselves."
See, I like the idea of a history where humans use the word "fuck" as early as that.
It's like me make fire and invent wheel. Fuck.
Like that little dog that says it in that meme. Oh, that's a good little
a good
video.
one.
Link that in the description for this
Okay, I'll
one.
put that one down. I should start just documenting all the things that we reference in all of the.
Yeah, I mean, the
podcast
Actually Nothing
descriptions.
podcast is like a pretty well referenced
You know,
little thing, right? We would make so many allusions to different things. You know that when I was a kid, I had this conception of humor where, to me, humor was just all illusions. Because anyone that I thought was funny, I was like, they're making references to things that I don't know about. So that must mean they're funny.
Oh.
And so I tried to amass this entire collection in my head of illusions that I could make.
yeah.
And so now it's just like trying to make allusions to things. And that's become my humor.
That's memes in general, right?
Yeah, memes are
That's
like
what we were saying.
memes are just inside jokes.
We were making memes.
Oh,
before
there's
it
your-
was
here's
there.
your meme talk of the week.
We've done it. We've done the Reddit.
We talked about the
reference,
Reddit reference, we talked
and
about
we're memeing
memes.
now. So like, it's one of those things you
Yeah.
can't get. We're just waiting for Aaron's voice
It's
crack.
Probably
We've already got Dan saying, some sort of fucked up word.
it's probably already cracked earlier.
What did I say?
I don't know. Aaron made fun of you for something, and I sort of caught
I don't
that.
know. We'll look back. The inevitable dumb comment.
Oh,
that
the
we were probably-
etymology.
we were
Oh yeah, that's
probably
it.
wrong with that.
What was that word?
Etymology.
Etymology?
Yeah, ETYMOLOGY. And I hope to
Etymology.
fucking God that's
Bugs,
correct.
bugs are entomology. Right?
Etymology. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Entomology and etymology.
Yeah, like ebonics.
Dude, I've been at least at like a 6 drunk for every single podcast I've been in.
Really?
It's been a 6. I mean, you did drink
Yeah,
2
you killed
whiskey
2 of those.
sours
And 2 beers.
and 2 beers. Okay, that's fair. I
That's not bad. I thought Peter was gonna be in this. He was like,
think he passed out.
"Let's when I come back, we'll do."
Yeah. I mean, I wanted to do
And then he's
dreams
here,
because
and then
Peter is
and then
here.
He's not
He
here.
was like giving us the point, and he was like, "I might queue up,"
Yeah.
and then he just walked off.
Hey, wait. So let's think about this. So,
Right.
have you ever thought about how? So, to preface this whole conversation, Vsauce when Vsauce
Michael
was
here.
Michael here
Okay.
he did an episode on sleep one time, and he was talking about how, when we go to sleep, are we really the same person when we wake up, in the same sort of Michael Vsauce way
Yeah,
of doing things?
I can hear his
But
voice.
so that's an interesting conversation to have too. Like the idea that when you fall asleep, you're not like when you fall asleep is the same person coming back into the body each time, or like, what makes up your personality?
That's the same argument that people have about if we ever achieve teleportation.
Yeah.
They were saying the only conceivable way to create teleportation is if you can somehow deconstruct your body on a molecular level and then
put it back
reassemble it
together.
somewhere else. But then they're saying, is the reassembled molecule still you? I don't know.
I don't know.
It's like-
What constitutes you, right?
Yeah.
It's like the whole what is it? It's the big stupid boat. You know what I'm talking about?
Bodemic boat phase?
No. You can take apart a boat and then rebuild it with the same parts. Is it the same boat, or is it a different boat? You ever hear about that?
No.
What is this fucking boat? Is it the boat of?
Well, isn't that just depending on how you see the boat as like, is it the boat in the moment, or is it just the ship that's made up of all the same parts? Because if it's just the same parts, then yeah, it's the same boat. I was saying, or not me, but I've had other conversations where we were talking about this whole like you thing, and it's like if say the Matrix is real, right? Like we're all in a simulation, is the same like what JP was saying. If you go to sleep and then you are conscious again, is the you that you are right now in the simulation the same you as you are in the Matrix, or whatever
Whoa.
machines that were attached to?
Mm.
Was it you that I had the conversation with about if you could make yourself immortal by downloading your consciousness somewhere else,
It was me. Yeah.
Yeah. Dan, what's your opinion on that?
That I don't know what you.
So you can immortalize your consciousness, right? But you have to download it onto the internet. So you lose your body, but your consciousness stays alive.
You live inside memes, and you create memes autonomously on the internet.
Yeah.
But then that's not your conscience if it's something that's downloaded on the internet.
What?
Okay, fine. Let's change it up. What if you could switch bodies, but you can never go back to your own body, but you could be immortal that way? Would you do it?
Well, where would you go?
Into whatever new host body you have. It's still your consciousness, but it's not the same. It's not the same body. Would you do that?
I mean, it's different when your body and spirit are two different things. So it's like when you die, you go to heaven, then you have your spirit there. Leave your body on earth.
Okay, but we're talking about if you're still here on Earth and you're immortalized. Would you do that?
I mean, I guess.
The boat that I was talking about, it's called the Ship of Theseus. And what it is like, it's the question of whether a ship standing for an object in general that has all of its components replaced remains fundamentally the same object. So if you had a boat, it's like the same thing as that episode of Futurama where Hermes replaces all of his body parts with mechanical body parts, and he stops becoming Hermes when they take his brain out. Yeah. So for instance, if you had a boat and you named it something like the Actually Nothing boat, and then you replaced all of the parts of the Actually Nothing boat, would it still be the Actually Nothing boat, or would the Actually Nothing boat be consistent of all the pieces that make up that boat that are now somewhere else?
Then that depends on what's giving it its identity, right? Because if I wrote Bodie McBoatface on the new Actually Nothing boat that was made up of those parts, it would be Bodie McBoatface. But if there was a part that we just painted at the Actual Nothing boat, it'd still be the Actual Nothing boat, in my opinion.
So then,
that is dumb, man. What are we talking about?
That would point to then is that the label that's on your body would define who you are because you're taking it apart.
Whatever, that specific object, yes.
Well,
if it's made up of the same parts, then it still operates the same way. It's the same thing.
I suppose. Well, that's because that's part of the conversation.
Yeah, like people are like, we shed skin cells every couple hours. You're technically a different you than you were like a week ago because you have new skin. So are you the same person? I mean, realistically, we're just a meat mass inside of our skulls that can only interpret signals and other outside things because we have this network and organs that let us see and hear things. We're all just trapped in meat skeleton body cages. That's kind of a scary thought, huh? You ever thought about that? You're not you, Dan. You're your brain.
Yeah, that's the funny thing. I always like that sentiment that's like, oh, the brain is the first organ to recognize itself.
Yeah.
It's like, ooh, edgy, but also like kind of true though.
No, I mean it's kind of a scary thought, right? Like I looked in a mirror one day and I was just like, this is my body, but technically me is the brain that's coming up with these thoughts, and my eyes and limbs are all just the things that are being controlled by this.
I hate being hyper aware of all that shit.
I know, like, but it freaks me out. But I'm just like, oh my god.
It's like, yes, this is the way that I work.
I must scream, and my mouth only lets me do that because I have a signal that goes from me to the thing that I'm controlling that lets me
even
scream.
Worse, like I must scream, and the only reason I scream is because I know I can.
Because I know I can. Welcome to the Actual Nothing Existential Crisis.
Hello.
Episode 2.
Yeah, we really, dipped into it.
Yeah, why do we keep dipping into like? We already talked about people dying, and now we're giving
because I totally
thoughts.
think that sleep and death are two related things that you can't talk about sleep without at least talking or mentioning of death. That's in some way, shape, or form.
What if my personal theory is? What if when you're having dreams, it's just your alternate universe self. You're being conscious of your alternate universe self for a small moment of time.
So are we also like corroborating the idea of a multiverse?
Maybe.
And then what happens if you're not controlling it? Are you controlling it or are you lucid dreaming it?
It's just you in another universe, but you're temporarily getting control over that you.
You We need to watch Rick and Morty.
To be fair, you need a very high IQ.
Oh, Jesus. God, I feel so bad for that show and what the fandom did to it.
Oh, yeah?
It really just beat it to the ground.
That's something that people who end up like creating huge projects get scared about because they're like, yeah, this is cool, but like
the fandom
anything that gets popular enough, there's eventually going to be a segment of people that are part of that fandom that just like ruin it for everyone else.
I feel like that's one of those other things that ties into the question we posed on the last episode about, what's the potential memeability of anything you create? That's something to be worried about too. Like, how far can it be memed and how terrible can a fan base be? And as we've seen with a bunch of different fan bases, it can be pretty bad.
Like at the beginning, things are super cool, but then when those assholes get a hold of it, then it's just like, Like for me, the game Undertale, like when that first came out, like the community and the subreddit and stuff were like awesome, and then eventually it got really weird into like furries and
way.
Yeah, people just like, yo, I want to yiff this character. I'm like, all right, I'm done with this.
Crazy. What's yiff mean?
It's like people who just like fucking furry suits.
That's disgusting.
I know, but
I think we could we can talk about fandoms and that type of shit in another episode because getting into the whole controversy behind fandoms is such a big deal.
That's a whole nother topic.
That's all about internet culture and stuff. But like to keep it in the realm of sleep, I think sleep definitely begs the question of death at any given moment, just because like there's so many similarities with it, except for the fact that at the end of it, you're awake.
Yeah, what if you never wake up, huh?
I mean, there's that. It's that one step that keeps you from.
Well, they call it
death and sleep.
They call death the eternal sleep.
Yeah,
eternal slumber,
so I mean, I don't know. And there's something about being laid to rest.
Like, why do you think when we say that when they're dead, we say rest in peace?
Yeah, or even the term like laid to rest,
laid
like
to rest,
sort of infers sleep in some sort of way.
But
and
forever.
so I think that as dark as it is, sleep in general and death are just like these two topics that are tied in their practice and the way that it happens, but then also in like the sort of mysteriousness surrounding both of them. Because let's face it, sleep is something you can study on the outside, but then when you get into dreams, there's really no concrete way of measuring dreams other than recording it. But outside of that, there's nothing you can do.
It's all anecdotal.
Yeah, exactly. And the same thing with like death. Nobody knows anything about it. It's just these two weird parts of life that we can't necessarily explore in depth because it requires more than anecdotal evidence and more than just subjective experience.
What if when you die, that's when you move your consciousness to another alternate universe self? That'd be like an interesting premise for a show or a movie, right?
That could be, yeah.
I bet you somebody's done that already.
Yeah, it's sort of like another. It's sort of like
and nobody knows because nobody.
A more elaborate type of reincarnation.
Well, what do you hope to be when you get if you get reincarnated?
Me, definitely a cat.
Nice.
Yeah.
What about you, Dan? What would you want to be reincarnated as?
I don't know.
Super rich and famous or something like that?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. The conversation about dreams is super cool just because there's all these weird anecdotal things about it.
Let's change it up. We've talked about what dreams we've had, but what dreams do you wait, that doesn't make any sense.
You're gonna say what dreams do you want to have?
Yeah.
Because I was thinking about that too. And I was thinking about we did that last week, didn't we? We did that already.
That's
goals
just
and
goals.
ambitions.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a dream.
Well, I think this is where you've been like half slumped over because you've been like getting into that sleep from our conversations. So
yeah,
you feel
micro sleep.
How you like that for a segue, Aaron?
Oh, well, for what?
Now that Dan's been trying to sleep, maybe it's time for us to try and sleep.
Oh.
Ugh,
okay.
I felt dirty saying that. Edit that out. It's so shitty.
Stop giving my future self work.
Right. No, you enjoy it.
Yeah, whatever.
In lieu of no sign off, we're just gonna end it.
Yeah, we don't have anything. See you later. You're not gonna say bye?
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Okay.
Oh, Peter's back.
Oh my god, now you come back. We literally just stopped.
Just stop it.
We had very good, interesting conversations.